Hello waxing people, welcome back to Expert Skin. Today we're going to be doing a lip and eyebrow wax and I'm going to share some pointers with you. First off, this is what we're going to need, your tools, different various wax sticks and strips, some tweezers, some scissors, some cotton balls, and of course you're going to need some witch hazel and hydrocortisone cream as well, not to mention a little comb to brush the hairs. Let's get started with the wax. I always start on the lip wax first. This allows the client's skin to repair itself and be a little less red when they leave and get up and walk out of your room. I always ask the client to open their mouth slightly with doing a lip wax. I'm going to apply the wax, as you can see, to all the areas I want to remove hair from. And having the client open the mouth like that really helps me get those little inner hairs on the inner side of the lip. And that's important because you only get one shot at waxing the the upper lip. One shot on each side. You want to apply the wax the areas you want to remove, because you can't go over the area again. You could tear and rip their skin. So you only want to do it one time. And if there's any wax left over on their skin, you're going to notice that I fold my strip, or I use my strip to remove any excess wax. I do not apply oil or wax removers or anything like that on facial skin, because it causes the skin to rash and be irritated. And you never want somebody to have that happen after a lip wax. And that's a common occurrence already with people. When they get lip waxes, they'll tend to get a rash or redness, and it's usually because the esthetician applies some sort of oil or something to the upper lip to remove wax, and you don't have to do that. All you need to do is use some witch hazel on a cotton ball and apply some hydrocortisone cream. Regular, over-the-counter, I think it's 1% hydrocortisone cream. I buy a generic one, nothing fancy, but it helps with reducing redness and rashes after a wax. And that applies to any body part, Brazilian, underarm, lip, eyebrow. You can apply hydrocortisone anywhere and it'll help prevent a rash that can happen after a wax. So let's move on to the eyebrow wax. And you see that I'm using a small wax strip here with a very small amount of wax. You don't want to glob the wax on for the eyebrow, because if you put on a heavy amount of wax and then you go apply your wax strip, it's going to spread into the surrounding hairs, and that's not what you want. You want to be really exact and precise with it. That's why I wax just the under part of the hair, the sides, the top, the temple, and the middle part of the eyebrow, and then I go in with my tweezers and really shape the eyebrow up. I always say to err on the side of conservativeness when it comes to doing an eyebrow. Some people do come in and they want their eyebrows to be super skinny. I usually try and talk them out of that, because that's not usually a good look on anyone's face, super thin eyebrows. And it's a lot of upkeep, and it just isn't the best look for most people. Our eyebrows are what frame our face and give our face a frame for color and for contrast. So eyebrows are super important when it comes to like makeup and just how the face looks. So I always err on the side of conservativeness, because I want the client to look at it with the mirror and tell me if they want more hair taken off. You can't put the hair back on, so I like to be conservative with it. I want to remove small amounts at a time and let the client tell me, hey, can you arch this a little more, or can you remove this little bit over here, and I'll do it. But I don't want the client to leave upset because I made her eyebrows pencil thin, because I just was overzealous and it doesn't look good on her face. It doesn't shape her face. Everyone's face is a different shape. So she has a perfect eyebrow, especially on this side of her face. And remember, they're sisters, not twins. This was a thing we all learned in aesthetic school, that eyebrows are sisters, not twins. A lot of people come in expecting their eyebrows to be the same exact shape on each side, and that's not going to happen because of hair growth, because the way your face is shaped. All of that has to be taken into consideration, essentially. And you're going to see me here pull up the hair on the eyebrow, and so I can get really in there and get intricate with my removals. You'll see me brush it up. I wipe a lot just to make sure I get all those loose hairs off. I keep the cotton ball in my hand so I can wipe excess hairs onto it as well. But this is where I'm going to do my shaping. You're not going to shape with the wax. You're going to just remove some excess hair with the wax, and then you're going to shape with your tweezing. That's what you're going to do. And remember, always just take little bits off at a time. You don't want that person to have super thin eyebrows. And a lot of times people come in with pictures of something they saw in a magazine or someone famous they saw that they want their eyebrows, and it's just sometimes not achievable. You can't achieve that look that they came in expecting from the picture, but I can make their eyebrows look fantastic. I can make them look perfect for their face. So the shaping part is a bit tedious, but this is where you really make the eyebrows look good. So take your time doing it. A lip and eyebrow wax should take about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how hairy the person is, how often they come in for an eyebrow wax. This is a client that I have been seeing. I've had her for about 20 years, I think. And she used to thread her eyebrows. So the threading of her eyebrows made them really, really thin. And during pandemic, when she couldn't go to a threading shop, she would come to me for her Brazilians, and we decided to grow her eyebrows back in. And it's taken 3 years to get her eyebrows like this, to be nice and full. There's still some areas that are filling back in. And just know that when you remove a lot of eyebrow hair, sometimes the eyebrow hairs won't grow back in. Once they're removed, and sometimes it'll take years for them to grow back in, which is normal as well. That's legitimate for them to just take a couple years to grow back in. You can always recommend castor oil or those Latisse type brands that, grow back eyelashes and eyebrows. There's all sorts of different brands out there nowadays. They can use something like that if they want to speed it up a bit. That is helpful. But just know that if they remove a lot of hair and you're trying to grow someone's eyebrows back in, it could take a minute, and it's a long process. So make sure they're aware of that when you start. So let's move on to the right eyebrow, and you see me applying a small amount of wax to the underside. And I like to be intricate when I apply. I don't like to go into the hairline. I'm just getting those stragglers down below. I'm going to apply some to the temple to give it a nice shape. And you don't want to go over and over eyebrows with wax either. You only get one time to wax those areas, and then you got to move on to the tweezers. So remember that as well. You cannot go over and over the area with wax. One time only. You see me using a real small strip here, and that's because I can get better control of where it's going. And then I'm going to remove any excess with the strip. Now this eyebrow on this side has a small little bald patch, which we've been trying to grow in. Like I said, the last 3 years we've been trying to grow her eyebrows back in after her threading, and they've come in very nicely. But she's a person that her hairs grow nicely. She doesn't have areas that are going to get bald like some people experience with thinner hair. She has nice thick hair. So that makes a difference as well. It makes it a little harder to tweeze when they have thick hair, but it is doable. I'm going to remove all the wax that we applied and get her little middle area as well. Pay attention to that too. Nobody wants a unibrow. And I think I'm going to do another video when it comes to the shape of an eyebrow. So we're going to come in with the tweezers and my cotton ball with the witch hazel, and I'm just going to really pull her skin back taut and really get those little hairs underneath to give her a nice shape. And remember, be conservative. You can't add the hair back on once you remove it. So you only want to remove what you really need to be removed. And sometimes like one hair can make such a difference when I'm trying to clean up an eyebrow or arch it or shape it. Just that 1 or 2 hairs in that small area can really make a big difference. And sometimes those bald patches won't grow back in, but you've got to just kind of make do with what they've got, essentially. I don't want to over thin their eyebrows and over arch it and make them look real surprised, you know. You're just gonna, and I like to pull back the hairs so I can really get those intricate pieces and I'm not removing too much at one time. Very important. Eyebrows are going to be your bread and butter along with Brazilian waxing. Brazilians and eyebrows were probably the most services I've done at a day spa and continue to still do them now. Everyone wants their eyebrows done and everyone wants their Brazilian done. So you're just going to clean up the eyebrows now. I might remove some on the top that didn't come off with the wax. You see how I'm just kind of going chit, 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 small areas at a time. And I like to kind of keep brushing at the same time so I can make sure everything's laying down the way I want it to lay down or how it's going to look when it lays down. And remember, they're sisters, not twins. So you're never going to be able to achieve them to look the exact same way on each eyebrow. And super important, when they come in with long, straggly brows, you're going to trim them. And I always say trim conservatively. You're going to brush them up and just trim the tips of the long ones. And then you're going to brush them down and you're going to trim the ones that you can tell are noticeably long. And it's just a snip of the tip. You don't want to actually trim them. Some people will take electric trimmers to their eyebrows, and that's never what you want to do. Those are little electric hair trimmers that are so popular. I tell people don't use them. Come in, see me, or use this technique where you brush them up and you trim just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of the tips. And I promise you, if you get like a man in your chair and he's got long, straggly brows, trim them and then brush them back and they will look perfect. Absolutely perfect. You never want to trim too much. And then you see I brush them into place and they're perfectly shaped. They lay down nicely, no stragglers. So here we are at the end result. I'm going to apply some more hydrocortisone cream just to make sure she doesn't rash or get red. And that way she can go on about her day looking good and she doesn't have to be self-conscious. But voila, we are done. That's super easy, right? All right, well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.